Welcome back to another computer sluggish video. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel yet? If not, be sure to click on the big red subscribe button and click on the bell to get notified when we upload a new video. In today's video, I will be showing how to install WordPress on your local host. This means WordPress will not be accessible via the internet. You will be the only person that can access WordPress, as it will be on your local computer. This is a great way to experiment with WordPress, testing out all the features or just simply playing around with it, seeing how you like WordPress to look. To start off with, first you need to click on the link that's in the description below and you will end up on a page that looks like this. You now need to click on Download XAMPP for Windows. And you now need to go Save File. Once the file has finished downloading, we can now run the setup file. You might now have a window that says the below. Basically it's just saying we have antivirus running and it might cause XAMPP to slow down. I'm happy to continue by pressing yes. And also it's now saying that I have UAC enabled. So basically it's saying don't install this XAMPP to C program files, which is absolutely fine. We can now go next. And you now need to make sure you have all the below selected, and then we can go next again. You now need to choose where you'd like to install XAMPP. I'm actually going to install it to my D drive, just so I don't have any UAC issues, and I'm now going to go next. You now need to select your language and press next again, and we now want to deselect this option and go next, and it will now begin to install. You will now have a firewall message window pop up. You need to allow access. And you can now go ahead and press finish and make sure you have the control panel selected. This is what XAMPP control panel looks like, and as you can see we have lots of different options. The two options that we're interested in are the Apache and MySQL. You now need to go ahead and press start on both these options. And you now need to press allow if you do have another firewall message window pop up. Now that they're running, we now need to head on over to the WordPress website. The link is in the description below. You now need to go download WordPress and you need to go save file. Once the download has finished, you now need to open up the .zip folder and we need to extract the contents into our xampp.htdocs folder. You need to go to your XAMPP folder wherever you installed XAMPP to, and as you can see I have a htdocs folder. You need to open up this folder and you now need to simply drag the WordPress folder into this folder, and this will extract the WordPress installation and all its files into our htdocs folder on our XAMPP server. You should now have something that looks like this. You should have a WordPress folder in the XAMPP htdocs folder. And if I open up the WordPress folder, there's lots of different files in this folder, which is great. We now need to go back and you now need to rename this folder to whatever you want your website to be called, just so we can easily identify our site. I'm just going to simply call this, let's go with Computer S. There we go. Now before we go any further, you need to open up your web browser. And you now need to type in localhost /php myadmin and press enter. We are now connected to our local database server. This is where we are going to create the database for our WordPress. You need to click on databases and you now need to click in database name and you need to give your database a name. I'm just going to call it CS and go ahead and press create. We now have a database. We can now go ahead and open up our localhost website, which means you need to open a new tab and type in localhost / and then the name of the folder. I name my folder Computer S and press enter. As you can see, it's now launched the WordPress setup. You now need to go let's go. We now need to put our database name in. I named mine CS, so I'm going to use CS. You now need to do a username. We're going to call this root. And password, we can just leave that blank, that's absolutely fine. Because we're on localhost, we're just going to leave this as localhost, and the table prefix can stay the same as well. We now need to press submit, and you now need to click on run the installation, and we can now give our site a name. I'm just going to call this CS. We can now create a username to access the site. Yet again, I'm just going to call this CS admin. And you now need to use a password. We can just use a really simple password, as we're the only ones that are going to be able to access the site. We can now go ahead and press confirm if you're using a weak password. And email, I'm just going to leave that blank. Okay, it appears I have to actually put in an email address. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my email. And then once you are happy, you can go ahead and press install WordPress. And as you can see, the install was successful. We can now go ahead and press login. You can now type in your username and the password you just created. I did just realise I actually put in 2 A's for the username, which means I need to do that and then type in the password, which was test. And there we go. I have now successfully installed WordPress on my local host machine. But just remember, no one will be able to access your website. Only you will be the person that can access it. But like I said at the start of the video, it's a great way just to experiment, install plugins, install themes, test out posts, just really see how you'd like your website to look, and then you can then go ahead and do it live. And if you really do like your local host website, you could move it to an online server. But just remember, it does take a lot of work to do this. There are some plugins that make life a lot easier, but personally I would just leave your local host as your local host and use it as an experiment WordPress. I hope this tutorial did help. If it did, hit the like button below and subscribe for more computer sluggish tutorials. Don't forget to check out my social media channels and forum.